All right, welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Outlook. We are going to cover a lot tonight, so hang on. We're going to go over a lot of charts. We're going to talk about Bitcoin and ETH. We're going to talk about USDT dominance. We're going to talk about the dollar, and then we're going to go into individual coins as well. This week is going to be made public on YouTube, so everybody's going to have the opportunity to see this one. If you're interested in getting these sort of updates weekly, you can join my TA channels in the DeFi Dojo. 2 weeks free if you want to try it out. After that, it's only $15 a month. So pretty cheap way to stay in touch with what the markets are up to, and as well as learn. It's a teaching Discord. We teach a lot about how to chart and how to read the charts on a psychological and emotional level. There's a lot of guys in here who have been with me for coming up on a year now, so a lot of loyal people, and I appreciate you very much. So let's get started. Oh, I'm also working on a bot with Astrobit, so that's pretty exciting. We should be starting the beta testing soon. It's going to be put through the AI optimizer next week, so I'm really looking forward to the results. And all right, let's get started. So as we normally do, we're going to start with the dollar. That is ticker DXY for those of you that don't know, and this just measures the dollar's strength. So we've been watching it hit this orange trend line all week last week, and it still hasn't been able to get over it. And this box that I've drawn was a box that I drew a couple weeks ago. And this is how we kind of started getting the idea that maybe we need to lay off longs and kind of just see how the market plays out a couple weeks ago. And so we pretty much nailed that dead on, and we've just been sideways with this. So what I'm going to be watching for now is if it can still break over that orange line. If it can't, then I think we might continue down on the dollar, which would then continue to increase equities strength. We had a nice breakout last week, potentially. I'll show you that in a minute. But if we look at the MACD here, this is starting to curl downward. Now, it is in bullish territory still, and it is a lagging indicator. So it's not going to tell us anything beforehand unless we find divergence, which we don't really see here at the moment. So this I'm going to be looking for this to cross downward. And if it does, I'm then going to be looking to see if it breaks down back below this yellow trend line. We could get a couple more tests up here, yet to be seen. We have Jerome Powell speaking twice this week. So Tuesday at 10 a.m. and Wednesday at 10 a.m. This is going to be big volatile events potentially, where he's going to be talking about the economy and inflation and so on and so forth. We know how that goes. After that, we got jobless claims and in the employment situation. So besides Powell speaking, not going to be a whole lot of major events. So we'll see how that goes. Monday, tomorrow, nothing's going on as usual. So I don't see a whole lot of movement happening tomorrow. Going into Tuesday, we could start seeing things move a little bit more. And that would just be across all markets, Bitcoin, equities, everything. So now what I want to do is go into the S&P. All right. So quite a while ago, we found in here that this was a giant bull flag, right? And we had a nice long year downtrend, right? And then we broke that downtrend not long ago. And I did predict that happening as well. A lot of you were here for that. But now we're coming back down to retest it. And we did. So now we've retested it several times, tried to wick down below it, but ultimately it held. And then on Friday, we got a really nice green candle right back up through both EMAs. So in my opinion, this is still bullish, mainly because the weekly is still bullish. Okay, we did fall back below the EMAs, but you can see we hit that trend line. And then last week, we finished really strong to get ourselves back over both EMAs on the weekly. And now we're opening up to start this week over that 8 EMA. So in my opinion, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, they have a lot of kind of continued momentum coming in here, where you really didn't want to short this. This is dangerous. When the EMAs are bullish on the day or on the weekly, you don't want to short. So if we look at the daily, you can see we were bearish, but now these EMAs are curling back up and bouncing off the trend line. This looks really good in my opinion, and the target is going to be back up at that 4,200 area, right? And then we need to break that. If we break that, we just draw some simple fibs to figure out where the target is beyond that resistance. So let's get the magnet. Let's start up here. We're going to draw to the bottom. And it's really laggy right now. I got a lot of charts open. Okay, so the target's going to be the golden pocket, right? And we're probably going to sell off from there. Why? Because we usually sell off from the golden pocket the first time. What we want to see is a move up into the golden pocket, a retrace back down. Maybe we find support back on top of that resistance that we're fighting at 4,200 before we return back up. Could come back down as low as 4,100 again. But in the meantime, I'm going to try to scalp this thing back up. So in order to do that, you can take options. You can just buy SPY outright if you'd like, depending on what kind of trader you are. I, however, like options. And so if I'm going to trade the options on this, I'm probably going to be looking for, I'm going to use SPY to do that with, and I'm going to be looking for 420 calls. And I'm going to want to date them out at least 3 months, right? And the goal is to hit this target in the next 30 days. All right. And so that's going to be your goal. And we want to sell when we get there, or roughly around that area. But we also want to watch what's going to happen right around this 4,200 mark. If we reject again, maybe we just take our profits there. You'll be in profits if it gets there anyway. So your stop's going to be if we break back below this trend line. So that's going to be the trade idea. If we go look at NASDAQ, it's pretty similar. We have broken the yearly downtrend, came back down. We didn't really retest the downtrend, but we did retest the 382 almost, right? And if we zoom into the EMAs here, you can see we're curling back up, and they're actually about to cross on the daily bullish again. Now, that doesn't mean we can't come back down and retest them. You're going to want to plot your entry on this. It could just keep going up. I don't know. But if it does dip, I'm going to be looking for those EMAs retesting to take my entry. And then my stop will be, of course, if it keeps falling a little bit below that and those EMAs start curling back downward again on the daily. But on the weekly, this is also still bullish. And you can see last week we retested the 21 twice, 2 weeks in a row, and now we're coming back up. So yet to be seen if we're going to continue upward or not, but this is still bullish momentum. We have the RSI and the MACD into bullish territory coming up into those areas. So this is, again, lagging. But in my opinion, I think this is bullish. This is a nice little, bull flag structure here. Here's your pole. Here's your flag on top of support. That's what you want to see. Moving to USDT dominance. So these are the levels that I'm watching for USDT dominance. And if you're not familiar with how USDT dominance works, let me get rid of that. As dominance for stables increases, crypto prices decrease because people are selling their crypto for USDT. So if we want crypto to go up, we want USDT dominance to go down. As this increases, Bitcoin and other cryptos decrease. So I'm watching to see if we can break this level with USDT dominance. It's right around 7.26%. If it does, then it's pretty much a shoe-in that we're going to go hit this 0.5, right? But as you can see, this has been the resistance for the last 4 days. And it's still increasing some more now. So Bitcoin does not look as good as equities. They have finally decoupled somewhat, in my opinion, where equities are looking really good and Bitcoin is starting to look not so good. So I'm going to be focusing more on the stock market over the next week myself. And if I do see anything, leverage trading scalp wise for Bitcoin or some crypto, I might take a shot. But for the most part, I'm probably going to lay off crypto still, as I have been for the last couple of weeks. So until it shows me something otherwise, there's a couple things showing me that crypto is looking weaker at the moment. USDT dominance being one of them, and moving into total market cap is the other. So we are bullish on the weekly. However, this is, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th week in a row we're retesting the 8 EMA after the bullish cross for total market cap. And it's also still rejecting its main downtrend. Some coins have broken their downtrends. Bitcoin has, Ethereum hasn't, at least on the CME chart. So this is still bearish, in my opinion, for the entire crypto market altogether. This is showing me it does not want to break this downtrend. Until it does, I'm really not going to be too gung-ho on buying a bunch of crypto. I have Tau, which is doing really great. I'm looking to get Quant at some point again. It did not maintain where I wanted it to be, so I took a small loss on that, and I'm still just waiting. We're going to cover that chart later on as well. But crypto as a whole is not completely bullish yet. It's just not. I can't say that it is until it breaks this downtrend and gets back up over that 1 trillion mark, which it just seems to have a really hard time holding. Every time it gets above it, it falls back below. You can see it's the resistance here, and it failed to use it as support in any moment during this whole last few weeks. So I want to see 1 trillion become support. Until it does, I'm going to lay off crypto. If we go look at Bitcoin on the volume profile, this is where I wanted Bitcoin to break to become bullish, which is 25.2. We did trade that up very well to that mark, and it rejected it again. You can see the rejection back here, and let me get rid of these clouds so you can see this better. But you can see the rejection here, and now the rejection here. I do think that Bitcoin will break this level this year. I don't know how long it'll take. Maybe it'll be the end of the year. Who knows? But until it does, just like total market cap breaking that trend line, I'm not going to be too gung-ho about crypto until I see that. Volume profile is very useful for finding these holes, these valleys in it. And when price breaks through these areas where these holes are, price moves very quickly through them. You can see here there's a big hole, right? And look how fast the price went all the way down through it and then right back up through it, right? You can see it here as well, where we went up through this level pretty quickly, where this one is. So it's just a really good tool to use. You can also see my PMAR indicator down here is pointing down as well. This is not looking great, in my opinion, for Bitcoin at the moment. If we go to the Bitcoin spot chart, I erased my levels because I wanted to kind of show you how I draw this. So I'm going to draw it in front of you now. So I left those there because they're still going to be useful. But if I take my fibs on a high time frame, right, and I'm just going to go from a very, very big low, which was the low in March of 2020, and then bring it all the way up to the high, this is going to get me my long high time frame levels, right? And you can clearly see we hit that 0.5 pretty well, right? And that's where we found support. So now what I would do is zoom in, and I would find a little bit more of a lower time frame level, maybe like a daily, right? So that was more like a weekly that I drew. But I would probably draw from this top now down to this bottom, because so far this is our bottom, right? And we've had an uptick. So I can draw this downtrend because this downtrend did break. If I draw from this top and then bring my trend line down through here, we broke the downtrend. So now it's safe to draw that downtrend because it ended, at least for now. So now this is where I get these levels from. So if I just kind of do this, I'm going to draw one more set of levels that gets me all of the important information I need. So I'm just going to take the most recent uptrend, which is from this bottom to this top. And this is why I got that as my level that decides right here, right? And now we're looking for this level, if we can break 25.2, which is that important level I've been talking about, right? 25.262 on the fib chart. Hooray, if we can get to 27.5. That's where we would go pretty quickly if we can break 25.2. But we haven't yet, and we've rejected, and now our daily EMAs are pointing down. We're bearish. And if this area, this trend line here breaks, we are quickly going to see this level here again, which was support here, right? And if that breaks, well, I think we're going to go straight to 20K really quickly because that is where this is, right? Now, this is where everyone thinks it'll find support, and it probably will, at least for a short period of time. But if you're a market maker, if you're somebody who's, trying to shake people out of their Bitcoin, it just seems very obvious to me that to stop at 20K. Now, could it? Absolutely. And if the 0.5 holds, that's great. That means we might be starting an uptrend here on high time frames. But in my opinion, if we fall back to 20K, then I think we're going to see this golden pocket again, right? We also have to watch to see if we stay over the downtrend. Total market cap didn't stay over the downtrend. Maybe Bitcoin doesn't stay over the downtrend either. So these are just kind of some of my thoughts, but we'll take it one level at a time. Obviously, we can reassess as the time goes, and I'm going to update the channel with those charts like I do every single day. And as time goes on and I have more information, I can give you more accurate information as well. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. We want to hold this 22,120 level. If that breaks, we close the candle below, we're going to continue falling down to the next one at the 382. If that candle closes below, we're going to keep falling to each level until we find support. If we look at Ethereum, Ethereum is still under its downtrend here on the spot chart. But if I go look at the, oh, did I erase that one? No, it should be here. At the futures chart, it did not break its downtrend. So you just start your points from up here, and we did not break the downtrend, and now we're pointing down again. That's not good. So if you see also, it's kind of scary when Ethereum reaches these levels, because once it starts hitting these levels on the downside, it shoots really far down really fast. Like it loses that support and just falls. So 1480 is the next target. If it loses 1480, then we're probably going to head all the way back down to this level here where the red line is your trend. And if I just draw some fibs for this, let's see if it lines up with any of them. So maybe the 0.5, maybe we only fall to this 382. That would be a good sign at 1420. If it held support there, then that, could be the sign that this is starting to become a nice uptrend, and maybe it'll finally break the main downtrend. But until then, I'm waiting. I'm not super excited until it shows me something. Let's see. So we did that, and I just erased my ES chart, didn't I? I did. Got too many charts. All right, so we did total. ETH Bitcoin. So this is another thing. The Ethereum Bitcoin chart, when you compare Bitcoin to Ethereum, it's turning bearish. It's under the pivot on the daily now. And even though the EMAs are technically bullish, we're in the in-between again, right? And so this isn't looking great in terms of when the whole market decides to start coming down. Alts will fall first, right? Or they'll fall harder, and Bitcoin will be the strongest one during downtimes. And so if that's the case, then this is kind of confirming that as well, where alts are looking weak. Everybody's moving their alt money back into Bitcoin or into stables. And if this thing continues to fall further, then that's just going to be a false 821 breakout for the ETH Bitcoin chart. All right, so we're going to look at Tau because I like it a lot. And what I've done with Tau is I've taken the data from its website, right? The chart that you have there, because it was only being traded on their website for a long time. And now we're finally got ourselves listed on MEXC, which is great news. However, that does open the door to bot trading and manipulation and all sorts of stuff that we weren't having before, right? So now we're going to see probably a little more volatility than we're used to seeing on their website. And that's already what we're getting. We saw it dip all the way down to 80 today, back up to 100. That's a 20%, 25% swing, right? So I'm waiting to see if we can break and close a candle over the 102 level, 102, 103. If we can, then the golden pocket here becomes our target. Further than that, we need to break 131 and get into our greed and FOMO zone up here. And if that happens, then I think we can swiftly see the 200 level at the 1.272 if we can break all three of these, right? I think it'll happen eventually. I'm not going to say it's going to happen right away, but the EMAs are bullish. There's a lot of buying pressure coming in. People are figuring out that they can go buy this on an exchange. Now every day there's more people that figure that out, right? But when you go look at the website, there are a lot of sell orders all up in that 100 area. There's a lot of money sitting there waiting for people to buy them. So I think there's a lot of people from the lows, $5. People bought this at one point. We got it at $20 here in the Discord. So there's a lot of people wanting to take profits still, and they're just kind of waiting for that liquidity to come in to buy it from them. So I would buy dips. I wouldn't buy at 100. Anything near 80 to 70, I think is probably pretty good. You can see 81 to 236 here. So 70 is the 382. Those are the levels where I would be kind of just adding a little bit more. What I've been doing is selling at 100 and rebuying down below. So I've been able to increase my bag little by little as I do that. Now that you can do that with MEXC, it's pretty cool. All right, let's go to COS. So COS is looking bullish. It's still looking bullish. Had a nice pullback. There's kind of this nice trend happening here since its inception. And I was actually supposed to cover this later on, but I think it's a little sooner. All right. So this is kind of just the channel I've drawn on it that it seems to be following. And it looks pretty good. I think that this is one to have for the next bull market. It's going to be volatile, and it's going to be one that you're probably most likely just going to want to buy the dips on little by little over time. Keeping an eye on the EMAs, of course, making sure they're still bullish. They are. We had a nice pullback a couple of days ago, and I actually shorted it a little bit. But now we retested the EMAs, and now looks like we're pointed back up again. Another thing I want to show you is the 1.618 here. So if I just take this downtrend on costs, it gives us a nice current local top that we have right here at the 1.618. So you can see this is what we're fighting. So I wouldn't be buying this unless it breaks and closes a daily candle over the 0.013408 level, right? You can see we closed one, but then that was our pullback, right? So this is clearly our resistance right now. I want to see this close over and use it as support. Then I think we can continue. So that's what I'm going to be looking for with costs. Let's move on to the next ticker. We got INJ. So INJ, we charted quite a while ago, and I drew this box here because this was the target that I made weeks ago. And when I opened it up, I was pretty happy to see that we hit that target, right? But it's also the downtrend, and now we're selling off. So I do think that this continues to pull back some. And what we want to see in order for a reversal is to find support below, maintain the weekly EMAs to be bullish, and then make another move back up and break this downtrend and get back into the golden pocket. Ideally, to get bullish for the year, we need to break 415, right? And so we're quite a ways away from that still. I'm not a buyer until it does that. For me, this is still just showing me that this downtrend is being respected. But we did hit that target. So ZIL is not looking good, in my opinion. This is curling back down. It never even crossed bullish on the weekly. That doesn't mean it can't, but this is a nice bearish doji at the top here, and followed by a week of downside back under the EMAs, ultimately rejecting this 0.5. So this is a no-go for me as well until I see some more. DAG, my main target for DAG since I don't even know how long ago has been this golden pocket. I do still think we get here eventually. I don't see a whole lot of things going on with DAG, in my opinion. They have a nice community, a lot of like hype around it, but they haven't actually built anything yet. So I think the golden pocket would be a nice speculation add if we can get down here. That's where I would think about adding some myself, just to hold on for a while. But until then, either we break the downtrend or give me a buy down here. That would be the way I would go about that one. AZERO, this is looking bearish now. We broke our nice uptrend that we had. We hit the golden pocket perfectly. Sell off, need to find support below. Once we find support below, we want to see a return to the golden pocket where it finds support, and then it can start to make new highs. So I'm going to be waiting to see if this downtrend breaks. Maybe some more consolidation around the 0.5. We might even get down to the 382 because you can see there's nice support here. It was resistance here, resistance here, resistance here. So the 110 mark is kind of where I'm looking for AZERO mostly, if I can get it. All right, moving on to AVAX. Again, this does not look great. You can see we peeked into the golden pocket here a little bit, and then that's where we kind of made our move, but we rejected the 0.5. And if it returns to the golden pocket, this is the opposite of when we look for a bullish reversal. You can have a bearish reversal just as well. So if this comes back down into the golden pocket for the second time, this is not good. Then you might see rejections in the golden pocket, and then it would get down into the fear and panic zone. So it's just the opposite. Bear markets are just like bull markets. When coins die, they look the same as when coins reverse and go into new bull markets for new all-time highs. You can look at it the same exact way. If it's ever confusing, you can even come here and click invert chart. And look, this is exactly what it would look like for a bullish reversal, right? Golden pocket, find support below, return to the golden pocket, find support, and get up through that level where we make new highs, right? It looks exactly the same. So if it ever kind of, you're wondering if it's really bearish, just flip the chart upside down and then ask yourself, would you buy that? I would buy this. Support at the 0.5. I would totally buy this if this was not inverted, right? So in my opinion, it's short. All right, Phantom. Phantom is in a nice downtrend. It had a really nice run. It's not really surprising that this is selling off. So the support level really is going to be the 0.5 here, around 36 cents. If that fails, then we'll see the golden pocket. This would be kind of, if you're long-term bullish on Phantom, this 28 cents to 31 cents area is going to be where you're going to want to buy this. If this is something you want to hold on to for the long term, you can see that this is the support that we're looking for, is right here. It would be in here around the 0.68, which is right around 29 cents. All right, there's cost. That's what I was doing. All right, so I already covered costs. MATIC, I think we're going to get back down to this trend line at the very least. 0.5 is just under $1. You can see, if I can even draw another trend line here that it looks like we're using. Potentially, nope, it didn't even get there. Starting to look like a wedge though if you do this, right? So, you know, maybe later on down the road, we can look at it playing the wedge, but it's not quite there yet. So I do think this sees more downside as well. So if you haven't gotten the general consensus here yet, I'm bearish on crypto, kind of bullish on equities, and we're going to get to a lot of equities after all of the crypto charts. ICP, no, I'm not really a fan. I never really have been a fan of ICP. I guess if you wanted to try this, you're going to want to try to nab it at $5, but if that fails, this line here again, then we're going to go back down and probably hit these lows way down here. It did break the downtrend, but the EMAs on the weekly are now crossing bearish again. And so this is kind of a little bit of a fear that I have with crypto as a whole. You can see this cross bullish on the weekly, and then a couple weeks later, back to bearish again. If we look at Bitcoin, that same exact thing can definitely happen. Let's see, where are we? Bitcoin weekly. Right, so there's nothing that says just because this is cross bullish on the weekly that it can't curl back down and become bearish again, especially when a bear market is kind of sorting itself out and creating this range down here that we've been in, right, in between 16K and 25K. This could be our consolidation range before the bull market starts probably next year. So if you look back at previous times, right, we've had, you know, a nice bear market rally followed by a cross bullish, and here, see, like just like this could totally happen to us right now. We have a nice bullish cross followed by a really big fall, right, and then we come back up and cross bullish again, and that starts the bull market, right? So there's typically a couple weekly crosses before the bull market starts, so I do anticipate seeing those. The gaps that we're shooting for here are all the way up here if 25.2 breaks, around 27.3 to 28.8. But until 25.2 breaks, I'm not really buying any. If we're coming back down and we break the 8 EMA, well, then we're coming to the 21, around 21.3. If that breaks, then we're coming down to fill this gap at the 0.5 at 20K. Beyond that is the golden pocket. We already covered Bitcoin, so... but the CME chart just matches everything that the spot chart says, especially with the gaps that are there. All right, let's go on to APT. I don't know. I kind of like it. It could hold this 382 here, right around just under $10. That would be where I would probably try. But if that fails, then we're coming all the way down to $8. So I would probably try to do this spot trade with a tight stop just underneath that 382 at 989. And by the way, I'm covering all these charts because the members in the DeFi Dojo TA group of mine, they have requested these charts. So they make the chart requests and I cover them on the weekly outlook for them. And then the recording gets put into the channels and they can come back and watch it whenever they want and see the chart requests that they asked for in the video. So if you become a member of the dojo or my TA channels exclusively, you can make these chart requests as well as ask me any questions you might have about TA. All right, moving on. STX. This made a nice run, but obviously, you know, this downtrend here hit. It's back under the 0.5. I want to see that break if I'm going to be a buyer of STX. And right now, it doesn't look like it's trying to break it. It's got a long way to go to get back to $1. So $1 is also a really big psychological level. Quant, one of my favorites for the bull market, did not hold the 126 level like I wanted it to, and has since fallen greatly. So we did have this spot, and it broke that level, hit my stop. I'm not going to be a buyer again until it's actually back under downtrend. I mean, it's just not good. I don't really want to buy this again until probably, I don't know, somewhere around this 112 level, if I can get it. 112 to 116, that's where I'll try again, unless it comes back up and gets above this yellow trend line here, which I don't know. I don't see it happening. You can see we rejected those 2.5s now instead of using them as support back here, and it rejected the retest of the trend break. So I'll let you know when that's a buy again. I'm pretty upset about it. I like quant. I mean, I didn't lose a whole lot, but I wanted to see it succeed. All right, OP. All right. OP is bearish on the daily. We actually had a really nice short on this a couple days ago. I think we shorted it from like 270 all the way down to 220. I think it was 225. We took profits. So that was a really great short. And it's looking more like a distribution now at this point. So if you know Wyckoff or have been in my channel long enough, you've heard me talk about Wyckoff a lot. You know, you get these 5 peaks, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 5. And so this could be the, you know, the straw that breaks the camel's back on OP, where we come all the way back down to around 173 to 180. This is going to be the, you know, my main target to short OP2. And so I'm going to draw a little box there just to remind me of that later. But what I want to try to do is get the retest of the 8 EMA here to short. And it might even touch the 21, who knows. But if I can get a retest of that EMA right around currently 255, that's where I want to try to short OP with my stop just above the 21 EMA. And then my targets are going to be as follows: 220, $2, and then ultimately 173 to 181. All right. I don't even know what this is, but somebody asked me to chart it. I think it's OATH. I don't know. 0 auth. But until this breaks the 886 at 27 cents, it could fly if it can. Like, this could just take off. But it did have a nice move, and now we're getting a pullback. Right around the 8 EMA here is where it's sitting now. So if you like this for whatever reason, I don't know what it does, but the chart looks good. This is a nice retest of the 8 EMA where you can take a long and keep your stop just underneath the 618 here. You could get wicked out. I don't know. This thing's pretty volatile, but it would just, you know, maybe create a nice trade potentially if you keep your stop just under, you know, 0.164. Because if it breaks that, we're coming all the way down to the 21 and then potentially the 0.5. So this would be like the second time you might want to try it if you get stopped out here with your stop just below the 0.5. SNX, this looks like potential reversal, right? So we came up, and just so you can see where I just drew the downtrend from here to here, come up to the golden pocket, sell off, support below, and then back up into the golden pocket, right? And so now what we want to see is support in the golden pocket, and we might be finding that right now. So depending, we can try to take this retest of the 8 EMA again. It seems to like to come back to the EMA almost daily, right? So our probabilities are high that we'll see the 8 EMA again, which is just shy of $3 at 292-ish. So that would be where I would take entry. Stop just below the 21, which is at 276. That would probably be a spot trade because that's pretty hefty for leverage. But yeah, I like that. This looks pretty decent. All right, BEETS. Just, I don't know what it is. I've never heard of it. The chart doesn't look very good, unless it can get back over 0.062. This is bearish and probably comes all the way back down to 2 cents, in my opinion. And that might be where it makes some sort of double bottom. I don't know what this does, if it's any good or not, but if it breaks that bottom there, then that's like really bad. So, all right, let's get into the stock charts. That covers all of our crypto. And now we're going to start with Google. Google is, you know, one of the biggest companies in the world. And it went on a very parabolic run right after COVID and has now retraced. Weekly, this is the monthly chart. Weekly is still bearish, but it is still holding this 0.5. I basically just drawn my fibs from the March lows of 2020 to our all-time high. And you can see this 0.5 is our support. So as long as it holds 0.5 support, I'm going to keep accumulating shares as time goes by. I've bought in, I don't know, maybe 4 times now during the last few months on Google, and it's just a long-term hold. Google's not going anywhere, so it's not like something I'm going to worry about. Like if I bought some obscure crypto token, I know Google's going to stick around. So as long as it holds that 0.5 at 87.72, I'm happy holding. If it breaks down, well, then we're most likely going to come down to our trend line, or the 0.618 here at 77. Beyond that, if we break that lower, well, then we're breaking our entire chart basically. So do I think that's going to happen? No. Can it? Yes. But I don't think it would happen unless there's some, catastrophic world event. And I guess, these days you can't rule that out. So AMD broke its downtrend. If we take the entire up move from April of 2018 and just draw this whole uptrend, you can see we nailed the 382 perfectly. And this is just a sign of a strong trend. It's a high time frame strong trend. So I like AMD, I like Nvidia, I like chip stocks. They make money, they get government funding. Like you can't go wrong buying anything related to computers, right? Computers are going to stay in our lives. They're not becoming obsolete anytime soon. So I like AMD long term. I also like it long because it's broken this downtrend, just like SPY and NASDAQ. So as long as we continue looking like structures like this is a nice bull flag, right? And we're curling back up on the daily. AMD looks pretty good. EMAs are now bullish again. So our main thing is going to be breaking this downtrend, and then it might make a nice big move, right? So we're definitely going to test that this week. I can guarantee that we're going to touch that line this week. Getting past it in the 236, we need to break $83. And if we do, well, then we're going to see a nice move. Where could that go, you ask? So let's just take the recent downtrend. And let's see. All right, so golden pocket, sell off, support below, return to the golden pocket. We want to see it break 83, continue to hold in here, and then get through our greed and FOMO zone, where we would then try to take it to about 100. And then if it breaks 100 and 105, then there's a big gap in here, right? Where this can really move all the way to 124. So that's kind of just shorter term this year, maybe possibly. But again, this would be a long-term hold for me as well. All right. AKTS, we had a really nice trade on options a couple weeks ago with this and took profits, and it has since retraced. You can see now it is hitting the downtrend retest. So this is where I'm going to try again. This would be another place where I'm going to take those same calls that I bought last time, which I think it was like January of 24, 5 calls, right? So I'm probably going to buy a couple more of those this week and let this come back up and try to retest 5 again. Stop being just below trend. If we fall back below the trend, then we don't want to be involved, right? So this gives us a little bit of risk with the potential for high reward. These are the kind of trades I like. Butterfly, pretty disappointing, but it did double bottom, or at least it looks like it might be double bottoming. The trend is kind of iffy on this. You can kind of put this in several different places. If I put it here, we're still technically over it now. So if you wanted to play it that way, you can take a long on it maybe and just keep your stop really tight. Ultimately, if we break 217, it's really bearish. So we can try to take this long, stop just under 217 and see how it goes. That's quite a ways away from the current price right now. So that would be probably a 10% loss just on shares. Options would be even more, would be even worse. So if anything, I would maybe just dabble in a couple shares of this at the most at this point with a tight stop under the trend. All right, Interactive Brokers. This is bullish. This looks very good. And I wanted to use this chart as an example as well, because you can actually find long-term targets using Fibonacci retracements by just taking downtrends. So if I take this high to this low, right, and just draw this downtrend, I'm going to see where my fib extensions take me, right? So I have a 2.272 there, right up towards the top of this channel. Now, obviously, this would take a really long time to get to. This is like 2025, 2026, when this target might hit, at least according to the trend line, right? Now, if I take another set of fibs and draw another downtrend, so I'm going to take this high to this low and see what it gives me. And if we go look at our extensions up here, you can see my 1.618 is also in that same spot. So I have a lot of confluence with the 133 to 137 area being a very good long-term target. When I say long-term, I mean like years, right? But this is a pretty good company. This is kind of like an international broker, right? You can actually download the app and trade using Interactive Brokers. It's a very popular one. I would say might be one of the most popular in the world as far as stocks go and equities. So I like it. I like Interactive Brokers. I like the company. I like their platform. I like the app. And so as far as the stock goes on a technical basis, this looks very bullish, and it's something you might want to dabble in buying a couple of and just holding on for a couple of years and taking some profits right around that 133 to 137 area. Let's move to Allstate. Allstate's been in consolidation for a really long time, like years, and hasn't really moved much. So I don't really, it is trending up here, right? And it's starting to look like kind of an ascending triangle, which is a bullish pattern. So if we took this, we would probably see this monkey around for another like probably year or so, potentially before it actually breaks. But if it breaks 144, then it's probably going to take off pretty good. So I don't know if it moves enough for me, but it looks like a pretty good thing to hold on to long term. And it's got a dividend, so that's not too bad either. All right, COF, Capital One. This has just been in a downtrend since, October of 21. Doesn't look great, and I really don't want to buy anything bank related until they start breaking their downtrends. But once they do, you can see what banks can do. Like, they can move, right? But until it breaks its downtrend, I don't really want to be a part of it. And at some point, all the banks will, and then banks will be the hot stock to buy. Until then, I'll look for other things. JP Morgan's kind of the same thing. It has had a really nice bounce off the lows. However, we are entering the golden pocket, which means it'll probably, find a top somewhere around 145, 150. Maybe even the downtrend here before it comes back down again. I will wait for it to do that before I start buying any more. I do have a couple, because I do like JP Morgan long, but it's the only bank stock I own, by the way. But this is kind of where I would try to buy it again, is around the 0.5 later on. NRDS, NerdWallet. This looks pretty good. I think that this is going to retrace, though. It could find its way to the 786 around 2450 before finally retracing, but it is just straight up. RSI and MACD are just sky high, and this is starting to become a little bearish divergent here. So if you are in this from the lows, this is the area where you're probably going to want to take profits, because you could most likely later on in time find this back down around $15 again. And Bitcoin miners. So this broke the downtrend, and if it retests it, then this would look like a good possible place to buy it if you wanted to hold on to this for a while. I don't really know much about this. I think this is kind of a newish ticker for Bitcoin mining, and it broke the downtrend, so it's pretty good. On the daily, it's bearish. On the weekly, it looks like it's trying to curl back down. So until this starts showing me a little bit more, I'm not too excited about it. You can see kind of a 0.5 rejection there around $10. So this is curling the EMAs on the weekly downward. So on all accounts, it is bearish still on the EMAs, but it did break the downtrend. So let's see if it holds it, right? All right, so that takes care of all of our tickers. How's everybody doing? Did y'all stayed with me through all that? Thank you so much. That was a lot. I appreciate it. Anybody have any final requests or questions before we end this call? Ronik, how did I do? Did I do all right? All right, guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you during the week. I'm going to post the weekly charts for the majors in the channels for you to go by tomorrow. But thank you for watching and being with me, and I'll see you again soon. Have a good one.